Hello everyone and welcome to this week's behind the scenes devlog video, and this week I've got a completely full free week. In fact, for the next few weeks I'm completely free, so I'm going to have loads of time for development and hopefully I'll be able to make lots and lots of progress on Equilinox. And I'm going to be starting that off this week by implementing some new behaviours for the animals. So this week I've decided I'm going to try and make progress in a slightly different way than I've been doing recently. Previously I'd been trying to do all of the movement for all of the animals first, and then do all the AI for all the animals, and then do all the settings for all the animals. But doing the same task over and over again, doing all the movements, was getting a bit monotonous. So I thought this week I'd try and instead just go through all of the animals one by one, do everything for the first animal, and then move on to the next animal. So today I'm going to start off by doing everything that there is left to do for the sheep species. So first up today, I've been reworking the wandering AI for the sheep and trying to make it look a bit more realistic, because previously the sheep were just constantly on the move. They were bouncing the whole time, mostly just round in circles, and the only time they actually stopped bouncing was to eat. So I've changed that now. You can see that they spend a lot more time just standing around, having a look around, enjoying life, and then sometimes they'll bounce off to a random nearby area. So that's all looking a bit more realistic now. And I also spent quite a lot of time just updating the AI code in general, which will be helpful not only for the sheep but also for all the other animals as well. To finish off the morning today, I've been working on allowing the sheep to fall asleep, which you might remember seeing in a video before. I did implement it previously just as an example of something, but I wanted to implement it properly today. So I've created a sleep component and some sleep AI, and when it gets dark, the sheep will lie down and fall asleep, which you'll see in a second. So you can see they're all lying down now, and then in the morning they'll get up again and get back to wandering around and eating grass. So it's kind of half working at the moment. I still need to do some more work on the kind of animating of them falling asleep and waking up, but I'll do that after lunch. It is 3 o'clock and I'm pretty much finished with the sleeping stuff now, so I've just been smoothing out the rotation when they fall asleep, as you can see here, and I also tried to make it look like they were breathing when they're sleeping, so you can see that they're still slightly moving even when they're lying down. And then again in the morning when they get up, I've just smoothed out the rotation for that as well. Next up today, I've given every behavior, every AI, a description, which means that I can now display what an animal is doing in the entity pop-up GUI. So for example, you can see that this sheep is currently getting food, and if I speed it up to nighttime, you can see that it will say that the sheep is now sleeping. And this is really mostly for me for debugging, but it's also just quite a nice little thing to see. Also, I've just been updating all of the settings for the sheep species, so all of the environmental preferences and food preferences and other stuff like that. But that is now the sheep species finished. I can cross that off the to-do list, and I'll move on to another animal tomorrow. But for now, I am going to go and get some dinner. So the species that I'm going to be working on today is the goat, and to start with I've just given it the new wandering AI and the new sleeping behavior, and I've also just been making a few changes to the AI system to allow different animals to use the same AI but with different variables. So the sheep and the goat both have the same wandering AI, but I can now set variables to do with the wandering AI in their entity files. So for example, the sheep stand around a lot more than the goats. The goats are a lot more active. 12 o'clock, and I've just been doing a bit more work on the sleeping stuff. I wanted to try and make the animals look a little bit more like they're actually sleeping and haven't just fallen over and died. So I created a snoring particle effect, and you can see that in the game here. To finish off the morning, I thought I'd just quickly create a new flower model for Equilinox because I didn't really have time to get started with the next programming task. So as you can see, I've made this nice looking flower here, but I'm going to stop for a bit now. I'm going to have some lunch, get a salad, watch the new episode of Better Call Saul, and then I'll be back to work on the goats this afternoon. Back to work this afternoon now, and I'm working on a new ability for the goats, which is going to allow a goat to knock into a fruit tree and knock all of the fruit out of the tree, which will look something like this. And I've got started with this, so you can see that every now and again the goat will just randomly run at a tree, but at the moment nothing happens when it reaches the tree. It is coming up to 5 o'clock and I've pretty much got this all working now, so you can see that this goat, when it hits the tree, it knocks all of the apples off the tree and it also bounces back. So that's the basic idea of this done. I've still got a few loose ends to tidy up. I need to make it look a little bit nicer, but for now I'm going to take a bit of a break. I need to do some cooking because I'm making some cupcakes for a friend's birthday. So to finish up this afternoon, I've just been adding that new flower that I was making earlier into Equilinox, and I also had to make the models for the younger versions of it. And I've also just been doing a few of the settings for the goat, but I need to stop now. I need to get ready because I'm going out for dinner in a bit. Good morning everyone, it is Wednesday morning and I've started off today by doing a bit more work on the AI system in general, just trying to make it a bit easier to use. And the first thing I did, not very exciting, but whenever an AI program is finished or is interrupted, the AI system now automatically notifies the entity component that provided that AI program. And this is just going to make things easier in the future. It is 11:45 now, just having a bit of a break, and I've just made myself some fried egg with some fresh chives from the balcony. But this morning I've been working on finishing up some of the loose ends to do with the goat's behaviour, especially to do with the running into tree stuff. So I updated the animation a bit, so you can see that the goat now kind of bounces back on the ground as well. Just looks a little bit nicer. And I also made sure that only the adult goats do the charging, and they only charge into fully grown fruit trees. Just made some quick changes to the physics for the fruit, just so they fall off in a slightly more realistic way. Next up this morning, I've just been changing the way that the goats choose a random tree to charge at, because the previous method of getting a random tree was a little bit inefficient, so I think I've come up with a better way of doing that. And I've also just very quickly created a new plant model for Equilinox. And speaking of plants, I'm going to take my lunch break now and I'm going to go off to the shop where I can buy some plants, because on the balcony I've still got a couple of pots that need to be filled and a hanging basket, so I'm going to go and buy some new herbs for them. It is 3:30 now, and as you saw, I got the new herbs for the balcony, but I'm going to wait until tomorrow to plant them because it's meant to be better weather tomorrow. But sticking with the herb theme, I've just created a few new herb models for Equilinox. For the rest of the day today, I've just been working on the next OpenGL tutorial video, so nothing else in terms of Equilinox to show you today, but I'll be moving on to the next animal tomorrow morning. Good morning everyone, it is 7 o'clock on a beautiful sunny Thursday morning. I've got lots to do today, but before I get started, I'm going to go for a morning run. So I'm starting off today by doing some work on the chicken species, and the first thing that I've had to do is to fix a slight glitch with their movement. Previously, whenever they stopped moving, their rotation would snap back to 0, which looked a little bit ugly. So as you can see, I fixed that now, and that's looking a lot smoother. And the next thing I'm going to do is to work on fixing an issue with the eggs. Sometimes the eggs just get up and walk around, which obviously they shouldn't be doing. Just been shuffling a few things around in the movement system to make sure that the eggs don't move anymore. And next up today, while the sun is still shining, I'm going to get out onto the balcony and plant those herbs that I bought yesterday. It is 12 now, and I've just been updating and balancing all of the settings for the chicken, so things like life length and environmental preferences. I think I'm going to have to update this UI this afternoon though, because if I want to add any more settings, it's going to go off the bottom, so I think I'm going to add a few tabs here, but I'll do that this afternoon. But the chicken is now pretty much finished. It's a pretty simple species, just starts off as an egg, then it hatches into a chick, and the chick follows around its parent. And then when the chick grows up, it just wanders around eating the seeds off the wheat. So this afternoon I'm working on creating some tabs in the species information UI, like I said earlier, and it's been taking a little while. The code for this UI is a little bit messy, but I have started making some progress. And you can see that I've got some tabs set up and they all work. So now I just need to get the right information in the correct tab. It is 5 o'clock and I've finally finished implementing the tabs for the information here. It took a long time because this information is provided by the entity components, and so I had to make some changes to every single entity component class because they now have to specify which tab the information should go under. So that took a while, but it's all done now. And I'm not overly happy with how this UI looks. I've never really liked the species information GUI in general, so I definitely want to redo this at some point, but I'm not going to do that now because after I finish going through all of the species like I've been doing this week, I'm actually going to go through all of the GUIs and tidy them up, make any final changes to them, so I'll worry about making this look nice when I do that. Time for a bit of dinner now, and I didn't really feel like spending too much time cooking today, so I've just got a pizza. And I also just started work on the next species that I'm going to be doing, which is the guinea pig. Just finishing up for the day now, and I did manage to finish off the guinea pig species. There wasn't really much else to do there. I just added one new behaviour to the guinea pig, which is that sometimes it just randomly panics and runs around in circles, just because I used to have guinea pigs, and sometimes they did that. It is Friday morning, another nice sunny day today, which is lovely, and today I'm going to be doing the editing for this video because tomorrow I want to work on the tutorial, and then hopefully on Sunday I'll be able to have a day off. So I'm going to get started with the editing now, and then later today I might have a bit more time to work on the next species for Equilinox. It is 4:30 and I've pretty much finished all of the editing for this video now, so I think there's just about enough time for me to do one more species today, so I'm going to do some work on the wild boar. It is 6 o'clock now and I've pretty much finished off all the work to do with the wild boars. There wasn't really much to do, I just had to do the settings and then finish off a few loose ends to do with their digging behaviour, which you might remember from a previous video. Basically the boars can go up to potato plants and dig up the potatoes and send them flying everywhere. So that's all done now. I'm going to have a bit of dinner and then I'll get back to work later this evening. Just finished making all of the models for the younger versions of these herb plants, and now I'm going to answer a few emails and comments and then get to bed. So that is pretty much going to be it for this week, and it's been a good week. I've made lots of progress and hopefully I can continue that next week as well. Before I finish, I need to give a big shout out to the top Patreon supporters from last month, who were Blue Nova, Danny D, Stefan, Timothy Gibbons, Crazy Rusky, Jeffrey, Benjamin Fuller and Alexander Chavez. So a huge thank you to you guys, and of course a big thank you to everyone who's been supporting me on Patreon. I really appreciate your support and it helps me out a huge amount, so thank you again. But yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you all next time.